Good day, everybody. Once again, it is me, the J to the E to the double F free. This is Jeffrey Harris, and you're listening to the 411 Wrestling Interviews podcast. Today, we have a new exclusive one-on-one interview, especially for all of you. You know, ever since I started this podcast, there are some interviews I've been very surprised I've been able to get. I've been able to get some decent interviews in my time here at 411 Mania. Before I started this podcast, I was able to interview CM Punk for a one-on-one exclusive. We couldn't talk about professional wrestling, as challenging as that was. Martha Hart, that was print only though. Jim Ross, though, of course, we got for this podcast. We got Chris Jericho. But this one is very special to me just because I'm surprised when I can get the people I can get, but to be able to get this guy, the one and only Rob Van Dam, I would think a future Hall of Famer, a man who's a former WWE World Heavyweight Champion. He's been everywhere. He's done it all. He's seen it all. This was a pretty special interview for me. So we got to talk about Rob Van Dam, who's currently a part of the Impact Wrestling roster, and he also has a new game coming out, a mobile app called Celebrity Slots. We talked about that, and what he's currently doing on Impact with Sami Callihan and what's going on there. This was pretty special. Rob Van Dam, he has an illustrious, long, historic career. We got into that a little bit, and I'm very happy to be able to bring this interview for you. So here we go. This is an exclusive interview on the 411 Wrestling Interviews podcast with the one and only Rob Van Dam. Here you go. This is Jeffrey Harris, or the J to the E to the double F free, and I'm speaking with a living legend, one of the greatest of all time, a former ECW World Champion, WWE World Champion, TNA World Champion. He is the one and only Rob Van Dam. He is
also known as R to the V to the mother effing D.
The whole effing show. Rob, this is a great honor and pleasure to be talking with you. And you are here to speak with us today. You have a new project called Celebrity Slots, a new slots game that is launching that you are a part of. So why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Yes, sir. Thanks, Jeff. Coming up with all kinds of things for people to do while they're quarantined and on their phones. The Celebrity Slots game it's a phone app, and you're playing a Rob Van Dam game. Everyone knows what to expect from a slot machine. So we went through, and all the symbols that you're lining up when you spin the wheels, they're Rob Van Dam symbols. You know, so we took let's make this one a chair. Let's make this one RVD, kick pads. There's one of I think there's one in there myself with Katie and Jennifer. So if you line up three threes, boom, you're a big winner. And then and the audio noise out of it, the sound effects are personalized. So we spent a lot of time on this. We're motivating you through the game. You get to hear like, "Sweet dude, you won," and you get to hear Katie go, "Hey!" And it's totally a Rob Van Dam game, and it's free to download it, and it's free to play, and you win stuff. You win prizes like we're doing like the Instagram, like the Cameo shout outs and hashtags and stuff like that, but also personalized stuff too. Like I got RVD items. There's always like the autograph stuff, but we're always going to be changing the prizes too as this continues, because we're going to want to cycle through different ideas. But the big prize we have right now, they asked me to pick what I think my fans would like the most. You know, and then some suggestions were like a TV screen or an iPhone or something. Some of the other items like that have been done before by other people. And I thought that the thing that would appeal to the most people would just be a gift card that could be used anywhere. So you can win a $500 gift card. It's free to play. It's a lot of fun. And if you're an RVD fan, then you can't not play it.
So this game, you fully voiced this game, and what are some of your favorite lines? Do you have any original personal lines in this game?
Man, we did it so long ago. You know, some of it is specific off the script to coordinate with certain things you do in the game. You know, I don't know. That's 3 in a row. But then there's also some stuff where we just had fun. You know, where we're just Katie and I were just making each other laugh, just saying different things and recording it. You know, like whoa. You know, Rob, Dad, Dad. I mean, that's the one everybody really wants to hear. But you're the whole effing show. I wouldn't want to hear that. Everybody.
I think a project like this, you can like update it over time and add new things over time as well. Can you see that happening?
Yeah, I can totally see that happening. You know, that's what they do with technology. And so far, I think the game's out like 2 days, 3 days. Came out this week, and I'm getting feedback that people are having a lot of fun with it. Some people that I know hit me up and said, "I'm already addicted to your game," and so that's what you want to hear because it's all about having fun.
Now, what if could someone maybe like win a signed T-shirt or print, or what about like a socially distanced dinner with Rob Van Dam?
I'm all for it totally. Some of the things that have been suggested are like on our list, but they're not gonna. But they might not be like what we're planning on offering at first. Then we'll cycle that around. That would be totally cool. We talked about an online, I don't know, meet and greet for lack of a better term, but it seems like on that platform it could be whatever you want it to be. You know, here we are together online. You want to have dinner. You want to smoke a doobie? You want to stretch? What do you want to do? Yeah, so anything's possible.
Oh, what do you like the most about a platform like this? Or also, you know, we have Cameo. I know you're on Cameo right now. So what do you like about, I guess, the fan interactions and creating sort of kind of digital shout-outs for fans?
It's pretty cool because, one, everybody seems to have access to a phone. You know, so that's a great thing that everyone's on their phone. So like, I'll look at my phone and be like, oh, I got 5 Cameo requests. You know, cool. I'm gonna do them today, and then those are like personal, just personal message right to them. You know, like, hey Jeff, enjoying the 411, bro. Keep it going from the whole effing show. Sometimes I do messages that are 9 minutes long because I'm just talking and having fun with it, and sometimes I have to talk about certain things, you know. So definitely, you know, when it comes to doing things like that for prizes, you know, everybody knows it's easiest on the surface to say if you don't know, oh, Rob Van Dam's a wrestler. But come on, he's not just a wrestler. He's one of the best ever, and everyone knows that I'm as genuine as it gets. I'm the realest dude in the business, you know. So when it comes to messages, you know, don't be afraid to ask if you can ask anything. You know, I tell people when they're doing interviews, they say, "Is there anything that you don't want me to ask you about?" I'm like, "Hell no, bring it, buddy. If I don't want to answer it, then I'll find a way to talk around it." So it's real. I'm proud of the real me because people seem to relate to the real person that I am. And I know that's come across through in my character because it's genuine. It's not a big stretch from the real person that I am. So this is cool. It gets you closer to the fans that care to be closer, you know?
Now, I guess the thing that, you know, after what happened with Sonya Deville, do you ever worry about like some of these crazy stalker types or trolls? Like, does Cameo do a good job of rooting those types out, or do you have to kind of be careful, like with who contacts you on social media or wherever?
Well, so with Cameo, they contact Cameo, they put in a request, and then Cameo sends the request to me. And sometimes it's just like, hey, my wife's birthday is coming up. She's a big fan. She's 30. Could you, say happy birthday to Janice? I can turn them down if there's messages that I don't want to do. I could just say I can decline to do it. Also, there's like a 7-day limit, I think. And if I don't do it within 7 days, then that runs out and it gets canceled automatically anyway. And that has happened on accident a couple times, just because I've been too busy and didn't get to it. But it's not like they're able to through the Cameo specifically. It's not a live interaction. We're sending them a pre-recorded message, and it's not like they're getting any information of mine. If that answers your question. And even in a live situation, like if we do that as a prize for celebrity slots and we're talking on Zoom or anything, it's still not like we're gonna have my be in my house or have my personal info.
I think what's great about
to answer your question,
yeah,
I'm sorry, I would like to follow up. I want to beat the crap out of that dude, that stalker. Like every time I see his face,
yeah,
and it's so offensive. Yeah, it's just so offensive to me. And even though I don't know Sonya Deville, it's in that respect, it is like a family, like the industry, where I feel like, I feel like he breached the boundaries of me and my people,
Well, that's what's scary to me about social media. It's great. I think it's great that you can get in touch and you can reach out to your fans directly. But it's also scary to me that when someone like that, like just is stalking you and then trying to go to your home, man. Like it's very scary. But moving on from that, considering you've put 3 decades into this business, Rob, have you ever seen anything like, what this current era, where this pandemic era of wrestling and moving forward and still putting on shows at a time like this?
Well, obviously, I've never seen anything close to this pandemic. I don't want to use I don't want to use the overused word unprecedented, but we haven't seen anything like this. Nobody has. It's a science fiction movie, and so it's amazing to me that everybody is able to adapt to the point to where they're able to, persevere and keep moving forward. And that is what life's all about. But right now, things are really, really weird. And I'm concerned, that a lot of people don't. I'm doing great. I have actually enjoyed quarantine. I love being home. And, it hasn't really changed my life a whole lot. I know that other people have much worse conditions. A lot of people don't have jobs. They don't have any jobs in sight, any money. They don't know what they're going to do, and a lot of people are home by themselves, stuck. I'm worried about everybody, getting depressed and going through a really rough time right now. And it's amazing to me that we're able to not really focus on how bad it is, because that would drive us crazy if we really focus on the bad. Ever, that's always a challenge, and every day in life is to focus on the positive. And a situation like this, it's really challenging. So I'm glad that everyone's able to at least continue and keep living a positive, even if it feels not real productive life right now. As far as the wrestling, I'm amazed. I'm amazed that wrestling is still going on. That it's essential. I'm fortunate that I have a TV contract, because pretty much right now, if you're not wrestling on TV, then you're not wrestling, because they're not doing any live shows.
From a worker standpoint, from the RVD standpoint, is it a challenge for you, figuring out the performance aspect inside the ring without having fans present? Is it you mentioned adapting to it earlier. How does Rob Van Dam adapt to this format?
Well, you really, even before you go out there, you kind of have to visualize always, right? Like when you're thinking about your match before the match time, you're thinking about moves that you want to do or whatever. You're imagining how the crowd's going to react. That's the purpose of doing the move at that particular time, and that's the whole story is bouncing off of the crowd and getting the reactions you want out of them, and elongating the suspenseful moments. And it's really challenging to do all that when they're not there. It's easier if you've had 30 years of experience. Otherwise, you have to have been such a big fan and you watched it so much that you understand all of it, if you're younger in your career, and that's most wrestlers anyway. But so going out there and there's no people, it's not the nerves are way down. That you're not there's not a whole crowd full of people that are there that are clapping and screaming at you. But besides that, it's pretty calm because you're walking around an empty room. But the rule applies, just like always, regardless of how many people are in the venue, that camera represents millions of people at home that are watching you. So that automatically goes into play, and you automatically know. But, if you had to, if something really bad happened in the match, you could cut it and you could just start over because it's not live anyway. So you look at it like that, then it's a lot easier. But you're still when you're wrestling and you're performing and you're being filmed, you're still very conscious that everybody is watching you. They're just going to be watching you later.
Now, Sami Callihan, he says he's in your head, and he is the reason you were unsuccessful in your challenge against Eddie Edwards for the Impact title earlier this week at Emergence. He says he's in your head. He says he's in Katie Forbes' head. Do you have a response to Sami Callihan, who you're facing next week?
Well, that would explain why I took that knee from Eddie. I knew there had to be some reason. Sami, I'm looking forward to my matches with Sami. I'm a fan of his work, and I'm glad that we got this thing going on. Yeah, I think that he is in Katie's head. It's easier to get into her head. She's not as experienced as me. Also, not as headstrong as me. Headstrong, that Amazon plug. And Sami, if Sami thinks he's in my head, I think that you should tell him that my foot's going to be in his face.
Now, it does seem that, things have kind of progressed a lot for Impact Wrestling. Considering, you were a part of the company when it was under different people in charge, Hulk Hogan, Eric Bischoff, and Dixie Carter. Do you think the company has done a good job of progressing and kind of, making a better showing of itself lately, now with the Access TV deal? And I think making a lot of positive changes overall.
Yeah, there's definitely been some movement, and at the same time, I think they also stick to certain characteristics that make them what they are. Like some of the personality of the product hasn't really gone anywhere, for better or worse. They've been around for so long, and since 2010 when I joined them, the rest of the industry always was saying, "Oh, they're not going to be around. They're going to fold. They're going to lose their backer. They're going to lose their TV." And they just always laughed at everybody and just marched on forward. And I respect that. Just like any of us have to do. If I can look at comments on social media from some ignorant fans that have no idea how awesome it is to be RVD. And I saw a comment yesterday that made me laugh. Someone saw the promo that I did for Celebrity Slots, and they said RVD's trying anything, or he's desperately grasping at anything to remain relevant. What can you do but just laugh because you know how funny it is, and just keep on doing what you're doing. And that's what Impact has always done since I've been around. And they're they're as strong as ever, but they're a lot stronger. They're working with collaboration deals. They're getting on different platforms for their show. But I mean, soon as I knew that they were bringing RVD in and that they could afford RVD, I knew they were in good shape.
You know, were any of the stories, the kind of backstage stories you'd read on the internet, you know, back during the Dixie Carter or Eric Bischoff regimes, were any of those legit, or was it all exaggerated? What was it like from your perspective?
Well, I mean, that's a pretty broad question, so I really don't know specifically what you're referring to, but there's always a little bit of truth. Not always, but usually there's some amount of truth behind every good storyline. And I was gone before the ownership changed to Billy Corgan and all that happened. I wasn't around during that, but when I was there, I saw the office change from Bischoff and Hogan to Vince Russo to Bruce Pritchard. And so Dixie was trying different things, and I think that she was a little too trusting that she would just have the right person that would do the right thing and take care of business, which I understand. I've been guilty of that plenty times myself. That was my comic book story that I had. I trusted that everybody that was there was just going to do the right thing, and I let them completely wipe me out. And in the meantime, hey, at least some of my fans got to meet some wrestlers. So was it worth it? Sure. Let's move forward.
I think when I first discovered you, Rob, I think it was probably back 1998, 1999 when you were ECW television champion during that amazing run. And I was just blown away by just like, not just your personality, but your fast-paced and athletic style. Like, you'd mix in like technical wrestling and mat wrestling, but I'd also see you do things that I never saw anyone else do before. Was that something you wanted to do when you were developing the RVD character and legend? Did you want to give fans something they weren't seeing anywhere else or ever before?
Way before I was developing any character, that's all I was doing. Even before I got trained to wrestle, when I was a kid imitating wrestling, that's what I was doing. Me and my friend were coming up with moves that we hadn't seen done before. So I attribute that just to the fact that I think outside the box. You know, I didn't know how different it was to approach the industry that way till actually, I mean, I already had my song One of a Kind until it was starting to sink in. I'm like, why did WWE make a song called One of a Kind? And JR was talking about how unorthodox my moves were, and I was realizing how different my style was. But before I ever had a match, like one of the first times I was ever in a ring, I was like, I wonder if I can jump up and do a split and then land on the top rope in the corner and then bounce off my legs and do a moonsault. Although I didn't know what a moonsault was back then, but I would think, you know, like a half a backflip. And I always was just inventing moves. That's what interested me. Even as a fan, I enjoyed seeing the moves that were different. Leaping Lanny Poffo got beat every single night, but as a fan, I pulled for him because he was athletic. He did flying head scissors and a back handspring, which back then was really, really outside the box because all these big guys were barely, their feet weren't even leaving the mat. And then like Brady Boone and Owen Hart, these guys, you throw them and they do flips flat on their feet. They were showing me moves that I hadn't seen before, and that inspired me, I guess, to be that kind of a wrestler.
Back in 2002, you were one of Brock Lesnar's first big matches and feuds in WWE. What do you remember about working with Brock at the time, and did you like working with him?
Yeah, I did. I didn't know him that well, but Paul was really high on him. So Paul was like the middleman that that was standing there when I was talking to Brock earlier in the day, and Brock was Paul was talking about, Brock is going to give you this his finishing move, the F5, and I was like, "What's that?" And Brock looked at me and goes, "I'm gonna like I'll have you up here on my shoulder," and then he's like, he rethought, "No, I'll grab you like I'm gonna," and then he goes, "I'll just get you, don't worry about it." And I was like, "Huh, well, that's a lot of like my whole career. I've noticed that people expect me to be lighter than I am because I'm always close to 235. My whole career, like it goes up or down a little bit, but I'm always around 235. And so I've had people say, "Oh, do a crossbody, I'll catch you," and then they blow their knee out, and then they're mad at me because I'm heavy. So I remember thinking like, "Wow, this guy, okay, let's see what he can get." And he picked me up to that F5. It made me feel like I weighed 5 pounds. He's the strongest guy I've been in the ring with, and I do enjoy working with him. I'm a fan of his athleticism, and I'm a big fan of his in general. So I love it when he's got like a UFC fight or whatever. Those are if I haven't watched UFC in 12 months, I'm definitely gonna buy the pay-per-view when he's fighting.
So, were there any moments for you, looking back in your career that like wow, this looking back or at the time were you just really feeling, wow, this is a real special moment for me. I'm really just living in this moment and soaking it in. Maybe the classics with Jerry Lynn, or maybe WrestleMania 18 beating Regal for the Intercontinental title, Money in the Bank at WrestleMania 22, or even maybe John Cena at One Night Stand. Did any of those moments just really like, man, this was quite a moment for me. I'm really just soaking it all up.
I think when I beat John Cena at One Night Stand, and then like I didn't know all the wrestlers were going to come out and pick me up on their shoulders and celebrate. I didn't know how that was going to happen. I knew I was going to go up, that I was going to go through the crowd and go up and find my nasty ex, because that was something that Paul had talked about. But I think that, like, when I was in the ring and everyone was picking me up and stuff, I probably felt that some, because I remember totally not believing that was going to happen until it happened, because that's part of the business. I'm pretty sure there's no exceptions to this rule, that you're going to get your heart broken. You're going to get promises made to you that aren't going to actually reach fruition. You're going to have people say, "Hey, we're going to do this with you and this with you," and then all of a sudden they're not, and they're doing that with somebody else. And so you have to deal with that. That's part of, for sure, when you make it to the top. That's part of the business there. So you have to learn to deal with it. You can either really, really care a lot and then have a really stressful life, but maybe be able to get to the top, or you can not give a crap, which is kind of what I did. But I did not think that was going to happen, that I would be holding up the championship belt until it actually really did happen. So I probably for sure had that feeling there. Most of my career, that was stripped away from me just by the fact that I wasn't allowed to be a fan anymore by the time I first stepped into a dressing room, Like Sabu and Sheik, first time I got actually in a dressing room, they were like, "You're not a fan, you're one of the boys, don't talk to anybody. Unless you're going to introduce yourself and then shake your hand, introduce yourself, don't say anything else unless someone talks to you." And because of that being pounded into me so early in my training, most of my career I didn't enjoy as much as a lot of wrestlers nowadays do. It was just a different time. I couldn't, if I would have got a tattoo of the date when I won the belt, or something like that, I would have been beaten up and kicked out of the dressing room. It wasn't, So most of my career, I need someone like you to actually point out to me how full circle things have come, and I'm like, oh yeah.
I think it was a pretty special moment, having followed your career for years up to that point. It was a real moment. It was like, people say wrestling's fake, but that moment was real, Rob. Thoughts on John Cena as a worker, creating that creating that match, John Cena as a worker and a top guy in general. What do you think?
I think he's great, and I love working with him. You know, I loved him during that match. He's such a professional. You know, that's not the first time I've seen a crowd be 100% against him. You know, I've seen it happen like in Wales, in Cardiff, Wales, was the first time I saw it, and he got on the microphone and he said, "Hey, you know, that's great. I'm glad you're booing. I'm glad you're having a good time, reacting. That's what we want." You know, and he was like, "That means that you're enjoying yourself. You know, I don't care if you boo or cheer, as long as you make some noise." And man, he turned them around, and then they were cheering him. And I realized, you know, like I knew John when he was still working at Gold's Gym in Venice Beach. He would check me in when I would come in to work out, and to see him go where he went, it was cool to see that. But also, you know, he stayed there for a long time because he is that good in the ring, in the office, everywhere.
Do you think he's going to become a star that will rival The Rock? You know, on the big screen and everything.
I think that he will have his own path, and I think that, you know, he will do very well. I think he's already doing very well. But I think, you know, that Rock has carved out his own path. It's probably going to be just for The Rock.
Now, you know, you talk about getting your heart broken in this business, Rob, and I remember hearing from you in another interview how, you know, when you were making that transition to WWE in 2001 and just being put in the middle of all these backstage politics, is that aspect of the business, you know, when you're in a major promotion, is that an aspect that you maybe dislike the least of being a part of wrestling?
Now, when you say dislike the least, do you really mean dislike the most?
I mean, yeah, dislike the most. I'm sorry.
Okay, yes. Looking back at it, I didn't have to be as stubborn, you know. But I'm older now, like than I was then, and so as you go through life, your perspective has to change because you're looking at things from a different place, right? So because of that, I'm always looking to improve myself. And when I look back at those times, I wouldn't have been doing politics even today. You know, like I've always hated that part because I just wanted my talent to get me as far as it could. I wanted to get what I deserved and nothing more than that. I didn't want to cut anybody else's momentum off in order to get myself ahead, you know. So that wouldn't change. But I was so competitive back then and in a competitive state of mind that I looked at all the other wrestlers as competition, you know. So I'd be more like, man, screw that guy, you know. And sometimes on a personal level, man, he really thinks he's tough. Like, I wish I could, you know, kick his ass out in the parking lot and teach him, you know, see how he is outside the ring. And that was really like part of my thought through most of my career. And I think maybe it was necessary to get where I got and to stay there and stuff. But now I got a lot more room for love for everybody because I'm not as competitive. I'd happily step aside and give my 20. If I got 20 minutes of TV time, nothing would make me happier than to step aside and give you 19 minutes.
All right, Rob, last question here. So we have the Celebrity Slots game featuring you where fans can compete for prizes and special personal VIP prizes featuring Rob Van Dam. We have your cameo. We have you on Impact Wrestling next week on against Sami Callihan. Are there any other projects, any social media plugs, anything you want to inform the listeners or readers about? I wanted to give you that time to do that.
Thank you. Absolutely. You're going to see so many different projects come out over the next several weeks because I have so many things on the table. But I spend a lot of my time now on RVDCBD, and that transpired through my movie Headstrong, which is on Amazon, and that pathway and helping people and exploring the conversation about concussions so we can learn more about it that combined with the fact that I've lost a lot of my peers through either suicide or through overdoses of narcotics, both of those factors led towards me wanting to put my energy into the CBD field and to help try to put that to an end. So right now, I have some products that are different than the CBD products on the market. Because of that, I'm getting great feedback. I'm helping people's lives, and it's great. Like, I've never been part of something so positive as promoting Headstrong and RVDCBD, because I'm helping the quality of people's lives, and it's just great. And it's something that I'm totally qualified to do, because it's all about my story. I've been a cannabis activist and advocate for over 20 years, so I'm able to educate people on it. So, and then, I've had hundreds and hundreds of concussions, so I used to have an indestructible image, which was great, but now I find by sharing a little bit of vulnerability, I'm helping like so many people. So I don't mind being the poster boy for let's find a cure for concussions, and let's keep pulling different cannabinoids out of the plant and see what else we come up with.
Rob,
RVDCBD.com, dude. RVDCBD.com, Headstrong on Amazon, Celebrity Slots. And, like you said, RobVanDam.com is meant to be a hub so people can get everything. But follow me at The Real RVD. Boom, boom, boom.
Rob, you are truly one of a kind. You are a once in a universe type of talent. Thank you for everything, you've done for the business, and what you continue to do, with your advocacy and activism work. You captured my imagination, many years ago, and it's still great to see you doing what you do, and always just being honesty, and not just being honest, but being, someone with a positive presence, a positive voice about making changes for the better. And I get that from you right now, and I appreciate, the way you go about things. I really do appreciate that. So thank you very much, man.
Right on, Jeff. I appreciate you. Thanks for noticing.
Appreciate it.
And have an excellent day.
Yeah, thank you, and best of luck to you, Rob. And I can't wait to see what you're going to be doing next. So thank you very much.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff.
All right. Bye-bye. All right. Thank you very much to the one and only Rob Van Dam for joining us on today's podcast. So you can check out Celebrity Slots right now on the Google Play Store, the Apple App Store, on Android or iOS devices. He's on Impact Wrestling. Here's Tuesday nights on Access TV, and his documentary Headstrong is available on Amazon Prime. Now, for 411 Wrestling Interviews podcast, you can check us out on the 411 Mania YouTube channel, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, Stitcher, and Google Play. If on YouTube, if you can leave us a like, a comment, a subscribe, we would very much appreciate it. If you can leave us a 5-star rating or review on Apple Podcasts, we would appreciate that as well. But more than anything, thank you for finding the show and listening to us, especially now in these very crazy, uncertain times. I hope everyone is doing well and staying safe. Once again, I am the J to the E to the double F-free. This is Jeffrey Harris, and you've been listening to the 411 Wrestling Interviews podcast. Bye, everybody.